His new book, which he's currently on tour with, came out earlier this week. It's called I Am Better Than Your Kids. Ladies and gentlemen, here from LA, Maddox.
Oh, all right. Well, it's not every day that tonight's a very special night, by the way. It's not every day that you get visited by royalty. So you're welcome. A lot of you probably might not know about my website because it's still kind of underground. I've never really advertised it or anything like that. You're shaking your head. You don't know about it? Oh, you do know about it. Oh, good, good. You got some fans. I'll give you a little bit of background. Well, let's start with tonight. When John Mark first contacted me to do this event, he kind of told me about it, and he said, hey, you want to come out and do this as it was written thing? And I'm like, what? I don't know, what is it? And then he kind of told me about it, and my response was like, oh, okay, sure. And then up until even today, I think today is the first time we spoke on the phone, because a lot of people hate me, and I'm really paranoid. In fact, at a book signing in San Jose, someone came up to me, and he was wearing a gas mask and a tuxedo and black latex gloves. And he came up to me, he shook my hand, and he didn't say anything. And I was thinking to myself, oh God. Then he walked away, and about 10 minutes later he came back, and he was holding a book called The Hitman. And he pointed it, and then he pointed at me. And I thought to myself, honestly, this is how I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to book signing. I'm gonna get gassed to death. But then he took off his gas mask and he says, I'm the Hitman. And I said, oh, from the video game. Oh God, what an asshole. Why would you do that? So yeah, suffice it to say, I write some pretty controversial stuff. How my website first got popular is back in 2002, I was standing around in a coworker's cubicle and waiting for her to give me some reports. And while I was waiting, I noticed that she had some artwork hanging up in her cubicle, and I said, wow, that sucks. And she turned to me and she said, my 4-year-old nephew drew that. And I said, well, your 4-year-old nephew sucks. And that was the genesis of this idea. I'm Better Than Your Kids. I wrote an article that went viral, and my website went from 2,000 hits a day to about 2 million overnight. And it got to the point where people kept forwarding it, and someone sent it to me and said, hey, check this out. So what kind of person does this? At a book signing, also, I think it was here in Alexandria, this guy came up to me with his daughter and said, hey, Maddox, could you please grade my daughter's art? And I said, are you sure? He said, yeah, she can handle it, don't worry. I'm like, okay. So he handed me this drawing of a butterfly. It was pretty terrible, so I gave it an F. I handed it to the little girl, and she walked off and cried. What kind of person does this? I'll tell you a little bit about my upbringing. My mom, for the longest time, and this goes the same with most of my friends, and even John Mark, when I was talking to him today, he's like, you're a really nice guy, I wouldn't suspect you writing this website. Like, I know, yeah, that's usually the case. But my mom was most surprised when she found out about my website. It had been going around for about 7.5, 8 years when she first read it. And she was on the phone with me, and I was transcribing this entire conversation with my friends online as it was happening. And she was sobbing into the phone. She said, this is terrible. This is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. And then she said, oh my God, did you draw a penis? I'm like, no, Mom, I didn't draw a penis. And then my friends were like, oh, actually you did. And they sent me the link. And I said, oh, sorry, Mom, I guess I did draw a penis. And just before she hung up the phone, she said, I wish I would have died and never raised you. When I called her up for the first time and I told her I got my first book deal for The Alphabet of Manliness, she said, why don't you go back to school and get a real job? When I went on my first book tour, She said, I hope you go bankrupt and get cancer. Now, I should correct myself. She didn't say, I hope you get cancer. She prayed. She threw her hands out in the air. My mom thinks I'm gay. I've been in pretty steady relationships for the last 10 years or so with women. So I was over at her house the other day. Not the other day, rather. This was about 6-7 months ago. And I was showing her pictures on my camera. And there's a picture of me in a bar with my arm around one of my good buddies. And she goes, who is this? Finally, I said, you know what, Mom? She goes, what, are you gay? I said, I'm gay. I came out to my mom as a straight man. And she said, I knew it! And she was so happy that she'd finally pinned me against the wall. And then she said, you're going straight to hell. And then she said, I hope you get AIDS and die. But, she said, I hope you get full of AIDS. Like, to the brim. My parents are also racist. My dad unknowingly. My mom definitely knowingly. So just as I was leaving that day, not a good family reunion, just as I was leaving, I told her, my boyfriend's black. Did not go over well. My dad, I've never seen the man ever listen to music, or ever watch television, or ever read anything that wasn't a scripture. He is a really tough guy. He grew up, he's been just a really tough guy my whole entire life. He once cornered me in the bathroom, and he said he would never respect me or listen to me unless I was able to grab his hand like this and press it forward, which to this day I can't. He's like 82 years old, and he can still kick my ass. They don't make him like him anymore. He was working on a snowplow a couple years back. He dropped it on his leg. This is like 150, 200 pound snowplow. And it shattered his shin and his ankle. So he lifted it up, dragged himself home, hopped into the house, and he didn't want to go to the hospital. So we wrestled him into the car. And then when we got to the hospital, we told him, wait here, we'll go get a wheelchair. So he got impatient while we were inside the hospital, and he hopped inside with his dangling leg. And the nurses and doctors were like, well, where's the patient? And we're like, it's this guy right here who dragged himself into the hospital. We got him into the bed, and they found out, he'd shattered everything. And he asked, well, how much is this going to cost? And the doctor said, I don't know, like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. He's like, well, I'm not paying that. He starts getting out of bed. My brother is another story. Don't get along. I don't know. He might have a complex, and I might have given it to him. One time I was over at my parents' house, and I went downstairs into our basement, and as much as I write about pop culture, I'm kind of clueless about a lot of things, like brands. And he was wearing a shirt that said Volcom. And I said, what's that, a new telecommunications company? And they said, no, it's a skating company. I said, oh, you skate now? And he goes, no, but I'm planning on it. So later on in the night, I decided to make a point to bring it up again and kind of, just tease him a little bit. And so every time he talked to my mom, I would say behind his back and behind my mom's back, I'd be like, I don't know what you think, Mom, but I think that's gnarly. And he got so mad, he finally was fed up. He got up and he ripped off his shirt like Hulk Hogan, except he doesn't have the physique. He's like kind of fat, kind of red, has like these baloney tits. And he took off his shoes and started throwing at me. He was so mad. He storms into his bedroom, angry. And finally, after the night goes on, I decided to go to the room. And my mom's like, no, George, please don't. George is my real name. Please don't. And I said, don't worry, I'm just going to apologize. So I went into the room, knocked on the door. He comes, what? I said, hey, man, I was a real big dick to you tonight. I'm really sorry, and I was wondering if you're you have any free time, if you could polish my shoes. He got so mad. He took WD-40 from like he had it on his table and started spraying me with it. I'm like, oh, big deal, WD-40. Then he got some matches. I bolted. We were shoveling snow one time for my dad because he was going to pay us $1 each for shoveling half of the driveway. I'm 2 years older. I'm stronger, so I finished my side first. And out of the goodness of my heart, and I'm not being cynical here, out of the goodness of my heart, I decided to help him shovel his half. And when I started, he got mad and picked up the shovel and hit me in the face. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I have like a scar here on my eyebrow. So that's my family in a nutshell. This is the kind of guy who grades children's artwork. Now, this book I've been writing for the better part of the last, I don't know, 2 years, year and a half, 2 years or so. And are there any aspiring writers here? Anyone, or are there any writers? I know we got a Washington Post writer here. Yeah, a couple. If I can give you one piece of advice, don't write a book. It's just a lot of work. It's a tremendous amount of work. The process for this was I would go through a big stack of children's artwork. I would write a little comment on a Post-it note, set it aside, and then I would take each piece, scan it in, and then retype all the notes, and then I would have to Photoshop each piece into the layout. It was just a tremendous amount of work, but it's finally finished. This is only the third stop I've come on my book tour. I want to thank John Mark for having me. I have some posters downstairs. They're free of charge. I'm not selling anything. I came totally unprepared for the tour. In fact, this is all I brought, this short sleeve shirt. I don't have a jacket. I almost packed shorts. I packed about an hour before I left the house. So I have nothing to sell, but the posters are free. You're welcome to them, and I'll be downstairs and talk with any of you if you'd like. Thank you.